Hi, I'm Leanne, and if you don't know me, I'm the founder of Braver Women. I'm a therapist for LGBTQ+ women, and the work I do is a little different from what you might expect from traditional therapy. I don't just talk about your life and then send you away to figure it all out on your own. I work with women to actually recognise and change the patterns that are keeping them stuck, the fear of what other people think, the overthinking, the emotional habits that are quietly shaping how you're showing up in your life with other people, relationships, and most importantly, within yourself. Most of the women I work with are thoughtful, they're capable, and they're deeply self-aware, but they're tired of just insight alone. They want to know the how. They want to feel steadier. They want to feel more themselves and less like they've got to perform to stay connected with other people and more about staying connected to themselves. Now, Braver Women is about creating change and creating that shift, learning how to show up with more clarity and self-trust in real everyday moments, not just in theory. Now, this episode is a little different. What you're about to hear is a shorter conversation that I shared inside the Braver Women community last night, and I wanted to release it onto the podcast here because Valentine's Day can bring up a lot for many of you. And I didn't want the message that I shared last night to just stay behind closed doors. It's honest, it's gentle in places, and it speaks to something that so many of you feel when it comes to romantic love, loneliness, and self-worth. And if you stay with me through this conversation, there's three things that I hope you leave with. So firstly, a softer way of understanding why romantic love can feel so intense. A steadier perspective on loneliness that doesn't turn into self-judgment. And lastly, a reminder that your worth isn't waiting for somebody else to choose you. It's something that you build in the way that you stay connected to yourself. And that's the very essence of what I teach. Now, if this episode resonates with you, then the Braver Women community is where these really powerful conversations continue. It's a warm, honest space for LGBTQ+ women all over the globe who want that depth, who want that reflection, who want the connection with other women and real growth alongside others who understand the journey. So you're going to find the link to join us in the show notes, and I hope you do. But for now, enjoy the episode, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Take care, and we'll catch up soon.
Hey everyone, I hope you're okay. Now, I wanted to come into the group today because of Valentine's Day, and because it can be a really tough, challenging time for those of you who especially are struggling with loneliness. It can feel like the whole world is celebrating romance and connection while you're left feeling isolated and alone. So I thought this evening I wanted just to come in here and share my thoughts with you to help you acknowledge those feelings so that you're not going in on yourself or feeling quietly bad in some way just for feeling down. It's okay to feel this way. It's completely normal. And also I wanted to just share some of my thoughts on relationships and romance. Whether or not Valentine's Day is overrated is a matter of personal opinion, in my view, but it's definitely a day that can sting, especially if you are struggling or you've just experienced a loss or even a relationship breakdown. Now, I'm not going to sit here tonight and pretend that I've got it all figured out when it comes to romance. I haven't. It's a journey like many other people in the world that we're all still learning and navigating. And I know that I've shared some of my experiences in relationships here in this group over the years, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and even on the podcast. But I think one thing's for sure, love for me has never been wasted. There's never been a connection that I've had where I haven't gotten something from it, even if it has been painful. And the way I see it, that every relationship I've experienced, I've always come away with way more realizations and awareness about who I am and how I am than I ordinarily would have realized outside of a relational dynamic. I think it's for me, it's always peeled back another layer and revealed this gap between my emotional history and my current journey with myself at the moment in this life. Something I ordinarily wouldn't have understood or consciously looked for outside of experiencing romance. Because I think romantic love is one of those emotions, isn't it? That it brings everything to the surface. It's a blend of feelings and sensations, attachment. It's a blend of meaning and action over time, all of those things in one big melting pot. And sometimes relationships and romance can be the most painful things that we experience. Not because romance is bad, but because it brings us face to face with parts of ourselves that sometimes we've learned to ignore or turn a blind eye to. It exposes the patterns we carry, the worries we don't always talk about or acknowledge, and even the ways we try to stay close while still protecting ourselves. We don't just fall for someone, do we? We meet the version of ourselves that shows up in connection, and sometimes that can feel like really confronting before it ever feels steady. And I think the truth is this: romantic love, tell me what your thoughts are. It really magnifies what's already there within us, doesn't it? It shows us parts of ourselves that we might not otherwise see. But here's the thing, and it's equally as important, so does being alone. I think both connection and solitude reveal who we're becoming. They really reveal lots of things about ourselves. And I've always thought from my own experience, and also from what I see in client work, that romantic love, it often reveals the wounds we already carry. But having said that, it can create new ones when our vulnerability isn't always met with care. And sometimes the heartbreak that we can experience, it isn't only about losing the person, it's about recognizing how much of ourselves that we're still learning to understand and heal. I think real growth in romantic love, it starts when we stop seeing pain as proof that there's something wrong with us. Pain is pain, it's not proof, but it's really healthy if you are experiencing pain. It's healthier to start seeing it as information about where we are in our relationship with ourselves. And here's the thing, people talk about love as if it's one single generic thing, don't they? And it just isn't. I wonder what would change if we started naming romantic love as exactly that, romantic love. What if we changed the way we name love? Because when we use the word like love without being specific, many of you who are struggling will hear, well, I just don't have it. And that can hurt more than we ever realize. Maybe the question isn't, will I ever have love, but will I experience romantic love in the way that I hope? If you think about it, when you say it like that, those are very different questions, aren't they? Think about it, right? Love exists in loads of different forms, not just one. Love exists in friendship, community. It exists in purpose, creativity, loyalty, self-respect. They're just to name a few. But I think when everything gets lumped in and collapsed into one single all-encompassing definition, it can make life feel painfully black and white. Either you have love or you don't. Either you're chosen or alone. But I think it's important to see that love isn't generic, and confusing romantic love with all love can start to feel that inner critic. It creates a sense of lack that isn't always real. And also, what if part of the pain comes from calling everything just love? Maybe the question isn't, do I have love, but am I longing for romantic love? Because those are different experiences, and when we name them differently, the story we tell ourselves slowly begins to soften. And I think there's something braver about looking at it from this lens. When we begin to name the differences, something softens in here. There's more room in the heart. There's more space to recognize connection where it already exists, rather than feeling defined by what hasn't arrived yet. And sometimes that shift alone can reduce the urge to self-sabotage. It doesn't always mean that the longing you experience disappears, but if you can let yourself look at it like this, it means that you're no longer measuring your entire life against just one version of love. You know, think about it. Romantic love isn't just one doorway. I think when people widen their emotional availability to other forms of connection like friendship, community, creativity, and way more shared experiences, they often become more grounded and less driven by that sense of scarcity and lack. And that steadiness that I'm talking about here with you, it tends to make romantic connection feel way more natural then, rather than forced. Now look, here's the thing. Wanting romantic love it's a deeply human thing because, well, it's within our DNA, it's within our genetics, but also we can convince ourselves that it's the only type of connection where we're truly seen. It can cause us to overlook and dismiss those other really lovely, tender moments that still have the ability to warm up your heart and make it smile, with people that we know, people that we've just met, and sometimes people who are just passing through. Attraction, that's the thing. Sometimes people can confuse love with attraction, and attraction can feel way more intense than love, can't it? And yet, I don't know about you, but I've been there so many times, confusing, that intense attraction and pull for love, when really, looking back now, I was being triggered by my own emotional history. One thing I've learned though, and something I tell my clients who feel this way all the time, is that, and I really want you to listen to this, the absence of romance is not a marker of a personal flaw or failing. It's not a sign of how desirable or lovable you are. Not at all. Sometimes romantic love grows not because we chase it directly and go after it and look for it. It grows because we allow ourselves to be fully present in connection in all its forms. And I think when the heart is open beyond just, I want romance, it often becomes easier to recognize the kind of love that feels steadier and more genuine and real. Now, if you are feeling lonely today, I just want to touch on something from a trauma perspective too. You know, loneliness, it doesn't just sit in the present moment of now, you know. It's when you are in isolation or you're feeling that way, it's because whatever's happening, the situation in the now is activating those older emotional imprints that are yet to be healed. The places where you learned that love might be conditional, that you might have to work really hard for it, that it might be really uncertain or inconsistent. When those parts of you do feel activated, what happens next is that inner critic in your head can start to feel really loud. For most of you who know me, I call it shit FM. It's easy to relate to that way, isn't it? But yeah, well, when you're feeling this way, something happens in your mind and you can start having this narrative that goes on and on and on that's really cruel and diminishing. And it can start telling stories about worth, your desirability, or being left behind. But I want to say to you that if you are experiencing that today, or any other day for that matter, those thoughts and that voice are not truths about who you are. They're really not. They're protective narratives shaped by experiences that once tried to keep you safe. But what I've come to understand is that self-worth doesn't grow from being chosen, right? It's not about that. Self-worth, and you can speak to any of my clients, and I wonder if they'll come on here and attest to this. Self-worth grows not from romantic love, right? It grows from the way that you stay in relationship with yourself when life doesn't look how you hoped it would. The way you speak to yourself on days like this, days like today, really matters. The way you let yourself soften and be a bit more compassionate towards your own humanity matters too. Healing doesn't happen by forcing positivity. It happens when you allow yourself to feel what's real without turning it into evidence that you're lacking in some way. So I think, listen, if today feels hard, just let it be that. You don't need to rush yourself into false positivity, gratitude, or some sort of strength. You don't need to turn it into that. Just let it be. Let that sensation be there. See it for what it is, just a sensation at this moment in time. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is sit with where you are and recognize that the longing that you experience isn't weakness. The sensations that you have are not weakness. If you are feeling that you have that longing, let it be this. It's proof of your ability and your capacity to really care deeply. And I wonder if maybe this idea could be something that you hold on to as you listen to me this evening. And it's this. Romantic love is not the only story unfolding in your life right now. Your worth is not somewhere waiting in the future attached to somebody else's arrival. It exists in the way that you continue to live, create, connect, and show up as yourself, even when parts of you feel really unsteady and uncertain. So if Valentine's Day has ever made you feel like you're standing alone or on the edge of something, I want you to remember this, right? It's what I've said. Love is not a single door. It's not a single doorway. It's not a single doorway that you either walk through or miss forever. It's not something that you have a one-time opportunity at. It's a mixture of lots of different experiences and different connections and opportunities throughout your life. Some of them have passed and some of them are yet to come. Romantic love it's not something that is just the one thing that defines you. Love is something that grows in lots of directions, not just one. And sometimes the steadiness that you build within yourself becomes the very ground where deeper and healthier connection can meet you when the timing is right. So think about it like that. So perhaps tonight, I want to encourage you, instead of asking what's missing, maybe ask yourself, where am I already living and showing up each day with courage, bravery, and care? I wonder if you can begin to notice what areas of your life that you're doing that in at the moment, how you're deeply building a connection with yourself. So start to let that question sit with you. Let it soften the edges a little bit. Let what I've said just sink in, and let me know your thoughts as well. Because I want to say this to you. You're not behind. You're definitely not less. And think about it like this. You're simply on your own path with romantic love. And that path for you is still unfolding. So I hope that helps those of you who need to hear this right now. And yeah, I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are. Think about it like this. Like, love has many directions. Love has many forms, not just one. So don't define your life by the absence of it. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.